It might still be 3 months till the college basketball season, but it's never too early to talk about the greatest rivalry in sports.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy Tuesday. Welcome into this crossover episode of the Locked On Blue Devils and Locked On Tar Heels podcasts. He's JJ Jackson, I'm Isaac Schade, and we just thought we'd give you all a crossover here as we are getting into the brand new school year, the brand new fall. Here's where we're headed on the show. Toward the end, we're going to talk about Duke and this team and its depth, both in the front court and back court. How on earth is Coach Scheyer going to manage that? Well, it's a great problem to have. Thank you very much. Before we get there, though, we'll talk about North Carolina, who is bringing in Michael Malone. Not only does Carolina have a former NFL head coach on the football side, they now have a former NBA head coach on the basketball side. Can it work better on the hardwood? We'll look there. But first, JJ, we just want to get into kind of a zoomed out big picture conversation about the different places our two programs approach the season with. If we rewind 5 years to the end of the K and Williams eras, both programs bring in head coaches who had never done it before. And as things sit right now, Duke is in a much different and more comfortable position than the Tar Heels.
Yeah, they definitely are, Isaac. And like you said, it is August, but it's still an amazing day to talk about the best rivalry in all of sports. It doesn't matter. People love having these discussions, and I certainly love throwing my ideas back and forth with you in these conversations that we're having. But yeah, just to think for Duke even that this Hubert Davis era did not live up to what North Carolina would have thought. It's a little different because you're so used to the amazing years of Coach K and Roy Williams going back and forth. UNC, a couple of head coaches in between there, but then all the years that you had of Coach K and Dean Smith, like this has been a rivalry that's so good because the head coaches have been proven and have been able to get the job done. And now to be in a place where Jon Scheyer is so stable, is so proven, that the worry each year for Duke, Isaac, and he hasn't addressed it this offseason, maybe that's coming going into the season, is that every year from now, Jon Scheyer is going to be pursued by every NBA team that's out there because of the success that he was heavily courted by the Dallas Mavericks and the Chicago Bulls this offseason, ultimately turning them down in a private manner. It's not like this guy has outwardly said, I'm here, I'm locked in to Duke. His actions would lead you to believe that he is. But that just shows you the success of Duke's run, replacing their legendary head coach and Coach K, in that the guy who immediately followed him, for one, has more wins than anybody else through their first 4 years as a Division I head coach. But then two, every offseason, the best of the best, the NBA, wants to get this guy out of the college game and go to the pro world.
Was there... Because obviously Carolina people saw that from the outside looking in. Did it ever feel like there was any legitimacy to him maybe either going to Dallas or Chicago, or was it just one of those like, oh, wow, they're strongly courting him, but John's never going to leave?
I feel like there was a little bit, just because I think Jon Scheyer is so present and real and aware of opportunities and has all these big goals and visions and wants to be successful and ultimately is competitive. I think that's what this comes down to at the end of the day. And Jon Scheyer is well aware of the fact that in Dallas, it'd be teaming up with Cooper Flagg, who you had an amazing partnership with as his coach going all the way to the Final Four. This Dallas organization also has Kyrie Irving, who Jon Scheyer knows very well from their Duke connections, right? And Derek Lively II is a big front court piece that they have, who was a part of one of Jon Scheyer's first teams as a head coach. So that in of it was real. And then from the Chicago Bulls side of things, Jon Scheyer is a Chicago guy. That is his hometown team. He grew up in the 90s, being born in 1987. His love of basketball really developed watching MJ in the 90s Bulls. So that's crazy that this team that you grew up watching that helped you fall in love with the sport now wants you to be their head coach. I think that's going to be real for anybody when those conversations start to be had.
And it's so interesting, Jay, how there were those like through lines and legitimate connections with both I was going to say programs because we're so used to college basketball with both organizations, both the Mavs and Bulls. How interesting would it have been if he had been the Bulls head coach from the Carolina perspective, coaching Caleb Wilson? That would have been pretty fun to see. And that would have been interesting. So Jay, you know, like with Duke, Coach Scheyer has been so consistent, obviously has continued to recruit at a crazy high level. You mentioned it as we were preparing for the show off air, but the weird thing with Carolina and Hubert Davis is it was so many roller coasters of up and down. There was a couple good years, but there's this weird sour taste for Duke because Coach Davis is the one that forever will be the one that won the final game of Coach K's regular season career, his final home game, and the lone meeting ever in the NCAA tournament between the two programs. But if we didn't know who that person was, you would assume that would be Dean Smith or Roy Williams. So it's like that weird nugget of information is just always going to sit. It's like, great, but wow, that was Hubert Davis?
It's going to be a trivia question, you know, decades from now that people are going to just automatically assume, oh yeah, Coach K's last game was against Roy Williams. Both of them were going out at the same moment. Or if this Michael Malone era turns out to be great and we're decades removed from now and Malone holds on to this job for decades, then maybe people have the idea, surely it was Michael Malone early getting going, that sort of thing. You know, like the fact that it was Hubert Davis in this short stretch of time within the rivalry is what's kind of weird for us to think back on. But again, such a pivotal moment within the rivalry itself. I think that's what's so great about this rivalry. And also, Isaac, I think that's why there's a little pressure on North Carolina to go ahead and make the change, because you're seeing that Duke replacing the legend in Coach K, who has more Division I wins than any other men's basketball coach ever. Duke goes out and, okay, that's fine. We'll just get a new up-and-coming coach, and he'll be on track as the all-time winningest college basketball coach through 4 seasons. If you're trying to compete with your biggest rival, you know that the standard has to be raised. And when it's been legendary coaches on both sides for so long, I think that creates a shorter leash for guys who aren't as successful as a head coach.
And it would be the same if the shoe was on the other foot, right? Like,
Absolutely.
Duke would need that quick trigger as well. And I think Carolina fans would want that. The same that Duke fans are probably like, at some level, it's like, yeah, hang on to Hubert Davis because we love this roller coaster ride. But at the other point, it's an iron sharpens iron kind of situation where I would imagine on the Duke side of things, it's like, sure, we love beating Carolina if things are inconsistent, but we would love for both programs to be at the top of the sport. Like, personally, I love it when there's this back and forth, when both programs are perennial top 10, top 5 kind of things. Duke is doing that right now. Carolina is not. And so I think that's why if I'm a Duke fan, I'm probably hopeful that the Michael Malone era is going to be a long-term, very high-level, consistent one, because you and I, like, we talk about this a lot, JJ, just not even at this professional level, at the personal level, that we love it when both programs are chugging along. And so, you know, if we think of Duke as the wise man built his house upon the rock right now, Carolina needs to get back to that instead of being the foolish man on the sand, to get back to that consistency, because I think Duke enters the 26-27 season on more solid footing.
Here's why I think we love it too, because ultimately within this rivalry, sure, we've got respect for the opponent. Sure, it's awesome when they're better and these games are super competitive and that sort of thing. But man, when it's like 1 versus 2 in the entire country, when it's a top 5 matchup, when it's a top 10 battle between these two programs, it's the best feeling in the world to beat those guys, Isaac. You know, not every win is created equally here. When there are years that, you know, these schools, Duke just a few seasons ago and the year before, Coach K's last season, missing the NCAA tournament, there were some hiccups along the way in Roy Williams' run where North Carolina doesn't even make the NCAA tournament. Yeah, you win some of those games. And yeah, it's a devastating feeling when one of those down teams actually knocks off their rival, which speaks to throw out the records, throw out the books and everything. But truly, the best feeling is when you beat them at their best, you know, and that's why the ultimate trump card right now is on the biggest of stages it was North Carolina who prevailed in the Final Four. I want to get back to a spot where Duke can have one of those moments, which for that to happen means that both programs need to be at their absolute best again to get to the big dance and the big stage.
Yep, JJ, it feels like Carolina has that trump card, but Duke has that consistency, and it's a weird dichotomy that we're living in right now. Let's get back. Hopefully this Michael Malone era can get things going back in the right direction.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the big question right now. Can it get in the right direction? Because you said it a little bit earlier. Look, North Carolina, in another very big sport in the football world, tried this pro coach to college coach. Not going too well for Mr. Bill Belichick. Could it be better for Michael Malone? We'll get to that and so much more here in just a moment on this Locked On College crossover. Guys, I want to tell you all about our friends over at The Game today, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils and Locked On Tar Heels. Since 1986, The Game has been creating classic college hats that fans are proud to wear. Whether you're an alumnus, current student, season ticket holder, or simply someone who never misses a game, a great college hat is more than just apparel. It's a way to represent your school wherever you go. This year, The Game is celebrating its 40th anniversary by giving fans a chance to save on some of their most iconic college hats. If you've been thinking about replacing an old favorite or adding a new one to your collection, now's the perfect time. The Game was so good to Isaac and I. Look at these fresh bills that we've got, Schade. Man,
great.
A sleek design for both of these schools, and The Game really just hooks us up with it all. You should be a part of this as well. With hundreds of officially licensed college hats to choose from, you'll find the perfect fit for game day and every day. Don't miss this chance to celebrate 40 years of The Game with 40% off your entire order. Visit thegamecaps.com and use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's thegamecaps.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Celebrate 40 years of The Game with 40% off. But don't wait. This anniversary offer won't last forever. The Game, a proud sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, let's keep going. Here we go. We all got a college crossover. I'm JJ Jackson from Locked On Blue Devils. He is Isaac Schade from Locked On Tar Heels. And Schade, look, we've done this pro to college thing very recently within the Duke and North Carolina world. And man, Bill Belichick and your football program, you can't stay out of headlines, but it's not for even football results, man.
No, JJ, it's like this offseason was a lot quieter, obviously, than last offseason because there just hasn't been as much Jordan Hudson stuff. There was the Freedom of Information inquiry she had earlier in the spring. But then the majority of the summer, it's been so much quieter. And I think so much of that is because lack of expectations after what happened last year. But it's kind of like, oh, thank goodness, right? Like, let's just lay low. And then obviously the last couple of weeks now, there have been the stuff with Michael Lombardi and the administrative leave. Steve Belichick, Coach Bill's son, is on medical leave right now, the defensive coordinator. And it's just like, can we just have no new? Can we just be nothing?
Yeah.
And as we think about then trying the pro to college thing in the basketball arena, it's wildly different because obviously, yes, similarly, you are bringing in, as you did with Bill Belichick, and multi-time NFL Super Bowl champion head coach. Now you've brought in Michael Malone, who is an NBA champion head coach, obviously with the Nuggets. But just the vibes make so much more sense, right? Like, I love Coach Malone's energy. I love that he is a national entity, just like Coach Belichick. But it's not all these crazy, wild storylines, right? Like, he's just going about his job, doing his business. And so, like, even just from that aspect alone, we haven't seen the first game of the Michael Malone era, but it just is like, thank you for just being a company man, doing things right. Like, I think he has wisely kind of separated himself from the media circus that is the whole Belichick thing.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to have this conversation. And I just got to simply ask you and North Carolina fans out there, and again, for both of our shows, make sure you're commenting down below. We love the engagement and the conversations that can happen with the greatest rivalry in sports. Does it make you nervous, though, Schade, because of the fact that these are guys that are used to coaching professionals, and now they're dealing with college athletics. And yes, it looks more and more like the professional game year by year, but ultimately these guys still go to class. They still deal with the campus life and whatnot. But there's also the element of all the players are being paid comfortably now, and you're able to kind of build out your program more professionally for both of these things. Any part of you nervous at all with this, Isaac?
You know what's funny? Like what you just led to, I literally talked about on yesterday's Locked On Tar Heels of, man, I'm still not sure how Coach Belichick is going to be able to coach collegiate players versus professional players where he can demand so much of them. And so there is some of that with it mixed in with exactly what you said of, but now they are so much more kind of professional. Here's a interesting and unique wrinkle with with the Malone side of things that gives me more hope. This has been a big storyline with it. You may or may not have heard it. A lot of the Duke audience may or may not have heard it, but Coach Malone's daughter, Bridget, is a volleyball player at North Carolina. And so I think that uniquely gives him a perspective of right now in the NIL transfer portal, house settlement, 5-5, Protect College Sports Act eras, all these slashes, gives him a unique view into how to coach and manage collegiate student athletes right now, because he's seen it with his own daughter as part of the Carolina volleyball program, who also is dating Carolina's former shortstop, Jake Schaffner, who is off to the Red Sox now, was an MLB draft pick this year, and so has seen it with Jake Schaffner as well. And so I think that gives him some more wisdom and insight on how to navigate some of these waters. But then interestingly, which is the same at Duke, you have some of these international guys coming over. In Carolina's case, Alexandros Samodurov and Sayon Keita, which is one of the fun storylines we'll have with the former Barca teammates facing off this year with him and Jojo Bunche. And so I think there's the college guys, but there's also, you got to know how to coach guys who have already been professionals as well. So there's an interesting give and take there.
And ultimately, I think it can come down to age as well, right? I mean, you're mentioning his daughter, and that is such a great kind of talking point there with, being in a part of her life every single day. And not to say that Bill Belichick is an absent father by any means, but we're talking about his son, who's already a grown adult and already helping him on the coaching staff, and his other sons that are a part of the festivities as well. Michael Malone, 54 years old today. Bill Belichick, 74 years old today. So ultimately, with those guys, there's still a lot of life that has changed within that 20-year difference of them.
And of course, also, JJ, I'll just throw in as well, a lot of Coach Malone's coaching staff has been in the college game. He retained two guys that were on Hubert Davis's staff in national champion Sean May, national champion Patrick Sullivan. Also brought over Chuck Martin, stole him from John Calipari's staff. Brian Tibaldi, who was on Providence's staff, and then just recently brought in Jorge Sands, who's been Gonzaga's lead international recruiter ever since Tommy Lloyd went to Arizona, to round out his staff. And so all five of his assistants are guys that have been in the collegiate game. So I think that'll help him navigate it as well.
I wish we had kind of a neutral third party for this next question that we sit in, Isaac, because I feel as though, as we should, we're both going to kind of land on the side of the aisle that you would expect, me on the Duke and you on the North Carolina. But I'm curious, and if people, again, want to sound off down below in the comments, feel free, be a part of this conversation. But would you rather have this unknown ceiling of what Michael Malone can accomplish at North Carolina, or be in a spot where you're Duke and talking about age? We've got the 54-year-old head coach in Michael Malone. You've now got this 38-year-old hotshot coach within the sport in Jon Scheyer, the proven stability that's there. So basic question, again, if a third-party neutral guy could get one of our Locked On ACC guys magically appear here within this discussion, Isaac, but would you rather be a part of Michael Malone's unknown ceiling that could be there, or the proven stability of Jon Scheyer?
I think the risk-averse person, which I'm always trying to mitigate risk, JJ, is you would take the proven entity right now in Jon Scheyer at the collegiate level. I think, like, if I were to, just remove any Carolina bias, you would be dumb not to say that, right? And I think that's part of why Carolina people really, really were hopeful to land Tommy Lloyd from Arizona, or funny enough to go back to the Mavericks conversation, to get a certain coach from the reigning national champion Michigan Wolverines that is now off, Dusty May that is, to Dallas. And so like, while Michael Malone has clearly proven it at the NBA level, he just hasn't done it at the collegiate level. And so the smart money would say to go with Scheyer in answer to your question. However, unlike Hubert Davis, who literally his only head coaching experience was the Carolina JV team, like with Michael Malone, the guy has an NBA championship. And so while the smart money is clearly Jon Scheyer right now, I think you are very hopeful as a Carolina person of what the ceiling could be for the Michael Malone era, but it is just more of an unknown entity because his head coaching record at the Division I college level is 0-0.
Risk averse more times than not. That's also how you would describe me. That's why you and I are such great friends, Isaac, with our similar mindsets and philosophies. Therefore, again, I love what Jon Scheyer's been able to do. I think it's been great. And brother, he has reloaded once again going into a new season. Expectations are through the roof, and it is a great place to be in the world of Duke basketball. I'll tell you that much.
Well, so JJ, I think we need to go have that conversation now. Back-to-back national players of the year for Duke. Maybe there's no singular entity on Duke's roster that is that level right now, but boy, as you just said, this Duke roster is loaded and balanced. A lot to get to manage. We'll talk about that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think's going to hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you're going to receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games. Whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. JJ, while we may not agree on the best college basketball team, one thing that you and I can always agree on is our MLB fandom of the Los Bravos. Man, right now, we got some dudes at the top of the Braves lineup who are on fire. Who's your daily dingers pick right now, Jay?
Yeah, you told me this before the show, and I certainly agree with you, Isaac. If it's not Matt Olson, I mean, what are we doing? This guy, it just lives for home runs at this point of the year. But yeah, I'm glad we can agree on this, and I'm glad that as both of our college basketball programs pursue excellence, the same could be said in the MLB with the Atlanta Braves. Man, it's a good feeling to have one of the best teams in the sport right now. That's right. Tomahawk chop for everybody.
I thought I had a tomahawk with me. I'll just give my family Braves photo that sits on the shelf. Let's go. Oh, man, great stuff. So, yeah, get in on the Daily Dingers. Matty O went deep multiple times against the Yankees over the weekend up in New York. Unfortunately, the Braves lost the series. Boo. So, you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. Again, that's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of MLB. All right, JJ, let's get into the Duke side of things right now. And we've said it already. Obviously, Duke coming into the season in a better place than Carolina. More solid footing. Things are really trending up in the Jon Scheyer era. And JJ, I kind of teased this, but after back-to-back National Players of the Year with Cooper Flagg, obviously last year Cam Boozer, I don't feel like there's one singular player on Duke's roster this year that maybe has that level of buzz. But this feels like it could very much be the sum of the parts is greater than the whole kind of thing, because my goodness, this Duke roster is loaded.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been an incredible job by Scheyer once again, constructing this roster, getting people to remain bought into the program and wanting to come back. It's now been 3 straight Elite Eight or better seasons for Duke basketball under his watch. And again, he's only had 4 seasons as a head coach. 3 of the times he's made it to at least the Elite Eight. So you love where you end up there. But then to your point, after having Cooper Flagg and seeing someone do even better than Cooper Flagg did in regards to Cameron Boozer swept every Player of the Year award that was there. Cooper Flagg got like 98% of them. But there are some people out there that wanted to give Janai Broom some love at Auburn with what he was able to do. Totally fair. Anyway,
Sure.
The fact that Cameron Boozer lived up to that hype was impressive. To your point, though, this season, there's not going to be a player that's got that much hype going into the year. But bringing back a veteran in Caleb Foster, Patrick Ngonba II, I truly believe will be in All-American conversations with what he's able to do in the front court with his skills, and to not remain in the draft, come back for another year is huge. Dame Sarr is going to continue to develop, another big sophomore that I'm buying hype in. Caden Boozer is going to make it a point to have a big season this upcoming year. And then this freshman class still tops in the country when you have somebody like Cameron Williams, you have somebody like Deron Rippey Jr., one of the top point guards coming into this upcoming season. Bryson Howard, the son of former NBA veteran Josh Howard, is an absolute sniper shooter from the outside. Max Meyer is a guy that they're really high on. And there's one name I've omitted here, Isaac, because it's the last name to join the bunch, and that's Jojo Boumtje by way of FC Barcelona, the American citizen who grew up here stateside and then ultimately moved over to Barcelona just a few years ago to begin his basketball development. He's coming to college for 2 years. And boy, looking at what he did, winning MVP of FIBA U17 for Team USA. But Boumtje might be the guy going into next season that's kind of living up to the flag and Boozer of it all.
Yeah, he feels like he has the highest ceiling for Duke, maybe a lower floor just because of coming in and being so young. But that's where it's nice to have all that retention that Duke has, is it gives him time to get up to speed. Like, if for some reason he's slow to develop, no worries. We got multiple other front court options that can step right in. And I think, JJ, that's part of it, is while Coach Scheyer has another heralded recruiting class, the one of the things for the Blue Devils is there is so much returning capability, including like 3 starters, at least, as you just said, with the Caleb Foster of it all, with the Dame Sarr of it all, with the big Pat Gongba of it all, like at the 1, 3, and 5, basically. Not to mention when Foster was out last year, Caden Boozer slid right in and started a good bit. And so there's all of that. And JJ, though, there's a name that you didn't say that I think Carolina, or at least I, as a Carolina person, am very concerned about. I remember as the transfer portal was going, I was praying to everything that John Blackwell would go anywhere but Duke. And now he winds up a Blue Devil. And so while he is not a Duke returnee, he is somebody that's got this high-level collegiate experience, was an absolute dude in the Big Ten. And while, maybe the thought coming into the season was, oh, man, you got Foster and Boozer, they probably slide in at the 1 and 2. But I think Caden's probably going to have to come off the bench again, because I don't know how you get past the starting backcourt of Foster and Blackwell.
Yeah, and shame on me. I was building up this big moment, omitting Boumtje, and really building for the freshmen coming in. And I talked about all the returners. But then that's the other piece, is the transfer portal acquisitions and guys that you can get to come into the program. And so in addition to Drew Sharnowski from Belmont, an experienced big who's gritty, tough, I think he's going to be a hard-nosed defender, kind of looking for what Malik Brown was able to do for this program. For the first time under his leadership, under Jon Scheyer, he goes and gets another John, Mr. Blackwell, to come over from Wisconsin to be kind of the leading guy. I think he's set to be the leading scorer for the Duke team, to be the guy that they turn to go and get buckets. And yeah, I think that's a big reason why Duke's going to be able to be so successful. The bigger conversation that we've been having here, kind of building programs, and the reason for success, though, Isaac, is I think one of the reasons Scheyer has been so successful is because of his retention of players. It's like, look, if you're not going to be playing for Duke, go get drafted into the NBA, like his entire starting 5 did after the Final Four season, all 5 of them getting drafted. Duke had 3 more guys get drafted this past season, going off to the league in Cam Boozer, Isaiah Evans, and Malik Brown. And then really limit the number of transfer pieces that leave your program. Notably, this past season, it was Nick Kamenya, who ends up at UConn. That's still kind of weird.
Join them, right?
Yeah, to think about what's happening there. But then to have all of these players returning and still buying in to the Duke way, the brotherhood, the fact that maybe I'm not getting as many minutes and shots as I would elsewhere, but I'm on a winning team. I'm really getting better in practice each and every day. and I'm able to contribute to a really cool program.
JJ, you mentioned that about the transfers and trying to keep the retention and not let guys go out, because I have gone round and round in my head, just both as a Carolina person, but also with my Locked On College Basketball national role, thinking about Duke's rotation and starters and all that. Each time I come to it, I have trouble both in the front and backcourt because there is so much depth at every position. Like, great problem to have if you're Jon Scheyer, but how do you navigate it where in this transfer portal era, you kind of got to keep guys happy, give them some minutes here and there? How do you think he goes about managing and navigating that?
I think what he says first and foremost is that nothing's promised or guaranteed to anybody. So expectations that might be there for these players are outside driven. I don't know that Jon Scheyer is directly telling all these guys, you're coming in, I'm expecting you. I know he's not. I'm expecting you to be the leading scorer. I'm expecting you to do all of this, right? It's just, it's open. And now we're able to see the best players shine and step up to the plate and make the best of it. So I think that's why he's been able to be so successful, is letting players earn the opportunity to make it happen. It is a worry in the back of my head, Isaac, because I hate to see players transfer and end up in other spots. And I really don't want any of these guys next season getting way ahead of ourselves playing somewhere else.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, it's a harsh sport with only 5 guys on the floor at one time, still only playing with one basketball. We haven't introduced a second one yet to the sport. But yeah, it's Scheyer certainly makes the best of it, man.
And of course, at the end of the day, if I asked you, hey, JJ, would you rather worry about having too much talent or worry about having not enough talent? I'm taking option A every day of the week and twice on Sunday with both basketballs. So
yeah, no risk averse about that in anything we do, man. Like, this is absolutely what we want. We want to be loaded in talent and that sort of thing. But this has been awesome, man. What a Locked On college crossover here today. Again, it's 3 months away from college basketball season, but never too early to start talking about the finest rivalry in all of sports. So much so, Isaac, that we might even do this again before the season starts.
Run it back.
So much material that we're going to be able to get into. So appreciate all the support from everybody. Subscribe to us wherever it is that you get your podcasts, Locked On Blue Devils and Locked On Tar Heels. He's on X at Isaac Schade. I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. Follow us on all of our social channels, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. As Isaac always says, peace.